thank you very much for coming. My name is Andrew Berman. I'm the Executive Director of the Greenwich Village Society for Historic Preservation. We're joined here today by City Council Member Rosie Mendez, State Senator Brad Boyleman, Community Board 2 Chair Berman, and neighbor, actor, and activist Edward Norton. We're here today because, as I think everybody here knows, we're facing a very distressing situation, which is that behind us over here on the Bullmore site, there are plans to construct a 300-foot tall, or nearly 300-foot tall tower, which is completely out of context, completely out of scale for this neighborhood. And for over a year, we've been asking the city, we've presented them with a rezoning plan which would make it so that this development and any other future developments in this neighborhood would be in scale, in context, a much more reasonable 8 to 12 stories tall. There would be incentives for affordable housing, which the mayor says is his top priority, and yet for nearly a year we've been stonewalled by the city. They have refused to consider this plan. They are letting this development go forward, which will be 100% luxury condos, nothing more. The response and the feedback that we've gotten from the city is to say, well, we don't think that that scale of development is so inappropriate for this neighborhood. They think that a 300-foot tall tower makes sense here. And they seem to think it being nothing other than luxury condos is okay, even though we're asking for zoning changes that would have these affordable housing incentives in place. If the city had moved a year ago when we first approached them, what would be going up on this site would not be this nearly 300-foot tall tower. It would be something that looks like this, which is much more in scale, much more in context with the neighborhood, and likely with about 1/5 of the units reserved for affordable housing. If the city moves quickly now, there is in fact still time that they could have the new zoning apply to this development here, and this is what we could get instead of that. But even if that's not the case, there are at least 20 development sites, potential future development sites, that we've identified in the neighborhood where there's a good chance that at some point in the future there may be development on those sites. And if the city has its way, that development will be nothing other than luxury high-rise condos, hotels, or dorms, which is what the current zoning allows. If they move ahead with the zoning that we and our elected officials and the community board and the entire community has been asking for a year now, it will be modestly scaled residential development with strong incentives or requirements for inclusion of affordable housing in there. It is confounding to us that the mayor is refusing to move forward with this, but we're hoping that he will listen today, that he will change his mind, and that he will allow our rezoning plan to move forward. I will say it's particularly ironic given that within the last couple of weeks the city has released a plan for a massive upzoning on the other end of our neighborhood on the west side, and they're proposing to roll back the zoning restrictions that protect our neighborhood that we have right now. No. We want to keep our zoning protections. We want to see new development in this neighborhood in scale, in character, and with things like affordable housing mechanisms, which this will not have. Yeah. So the time is now for the mayor to act. And I want to say to everybody who's here today, if you received the handout, the press release, on the back side of it, there's a very quick list of bullet points here of things you can do with just your smartphone. If you go to this URL, you can quickly send a letter to the mayor telling him you want him to move on this right away. So please do that either today or when you go home, because we need the mayor to hear from us. And we also need the mayor to hear from our city council member, Rosie Mendez, who has been with us throughout this and who has been tireless. She's met many times with city planning about this. She's gotten city planning to meet with us about it, and she's been a really forceful advocate for this plan. Councilmember Mendez.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for being here today. This goes to show that our community is not 100% but 150% behind this plan. It was a weak yay. It's a little cold out here. So this proposal represents the culmination of community collaboration made in an effort to protect this neighborhood from out-of-scale development. 110 University Place is, I believe, the first domino that will threaten the architectural and contextual character of our community. There are sites all around University Place, ripe for a well-heeled developer looking to build more condos with chain stores on the ground floor. Black Billiards, just a few blocks away, is another example. An iconic New York City business displaced for luxury condos, asking $2,500 per square foot in that building. New York City needs housing. We need it at all income levels. We have enough luxury condos in this city. Many of them sit empty throughout this city. I am committed to working with GVSHP, community residents, Community Board 2, and the Department of City Planning to move this plan forward and provide opportunities for our community's enrichment and not just the enrichment of developers. Thank you very much.
I'm going to ask State Senator Brad Hoylman to join us, who's also been a very strong supporter of this plan and this effort.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. I'm State Senator Brad Hoylman. I represent the neighborhood. I want to thank GVSHP, our terrific council member Rosie Mendez, and Community Board 2, represented by Toby Bergman, for this community collaboration. As the council member said, the city should be listening to our community. This is a community-driven rezoning. Instead, it seems all City Hall cares about are developer-driven rezonings. And that's wrong, and we got to do something about it. Now, I still can't get over that Bowmore Lanes is gone. I just live a block away from here, and instead of Bowmore, we need to build less. Build less. Now, this 500-foot tower is going to loom over this amazing esplanade, this block that so many of us walk up and down with our kids, with our dogs, our friends, and our family members. It really threatens the very essence of this part of the village. So we need the city, with your support, to reconsider. Support a community-driven rezoning. Reject developer-driven rezoning. So once again, I thank Andrew Berman, I thank Edward Norton and all the community. We got a lot of work to do, but with your help, we will make it there. Thank you so much.
I'm going to ask our neighbor, who I know has been concerned about this from the very beginning, and who I also know has a very strong interest in things like city planning and how our cities develop, Edward Norton, to come say a few words.
Things like this never get highlighted or never get done without community leaders like Andrew, and so I really want to thank Andrew and Greenwich Village Historic Preservation Society for highlighting this and letting a lot of us know about it. I was thinking about it this morning. I've lived in the neighborhood for almost 20 years. I think, you know, cities change. Change is inevitable in cities, and it's not always a bad thing. But a part of what makes New York City such a livable and significant place in the world is its dynamism and its diversity. And it's not just the diversity, the incredible diversity of people who live here, it's the diversity of spaces and experiences that you can have all in the one city. And Greenwich Village is Greenwich Village is a part of that diversity. It's a very different sort of spatial community experience than other parts of the city. Midtown is wonderful, the financial district is wonderful, Chelsea is wonderful, but Greenwich Village is wonderful for reasons that are very particular to it and very historic. And the loss of that is the loss of a different kind of dynamism and diversity in the city. And if you want to live in a condominium, there's lots of places in the city that you can do that. And there's lots of places that are zoned for it and appropriate without it costing the city a part of its incredible DNA. And I think that this is the other thing that makes a city work is consensus. And when there's consensus within the community that's going to be impacted by something that they don't want that's what the city and the leadership in the city needs to pay attention to, I think. I also think it is hypocritical. It's hypocritical to position yourself as a populist leader, as a mayor of the people, and say that you're for a city that's for everybody, to say that you're for parks for everybody, but to perpetually allow development that does not include mixed income and affordable housing in critical areas that are actual preferential communities like the Village. You can't throw up 1%er towers all over the city and say that you're really for equal opportunity for everybody. So I think, I have friends in this administration and stuff. I've talked to some of them. Candidly, people have not put good odds on the city reversing or engaging a rezoning process. And I think for it to happen, we really are going to collectively have to do more than just show up on the sidewalk. I think we're going to all have to go home from here and think for 15 minutes about who we can rally around it, what we can do, and actually take small actions to make people feel like in the city that people are actually paying attention to this, because it's a very, very narrow window of time in which this plan that Greenwich Village Historic Preservation Society has wonderfully created for us can even be enjoined. The window on this is very, very narrow. So I think we have to actually determine that we're going to do something about it and act and think about what that means in each of our own ways. Thanks a lot.
Said on the back of these handouts, this is one way you can do it. There's a lot of ways you can do it. Please send these letters and attend the meeting on Monday night. Our next speaker is somebody who we've been working with on this from the very beginning, who's essential to making this happen. Toby Berman, the chair.
Thank you. I think it's obvious right now what this area doesn't need is more shade. I'd like to start out by quoting Clyde Frazier, and who would call this the response by the city confounding and astounding. That they would reject a smart overture that will not reduce the amount of development that can happen here, but will put it in a scale, in an appropriate scale for this neighborhood, that will not be destructive of this neighborhood, and more so will actually contribute to the neighborhood, because we're a neighborhood that has to restore our diversity. We've lost a really important part of what we have here as this neighborhood becomes more and more a place simply for rich people. And we need to get that diversity back. And this, we believe that this, we still believe that this mayor, this administration is committed to bringing affordable housing. But for whatever reason, it's being passed over here. And it's being passed over in a place where perhaps it's most important, which is a high-value neighborhood, which is losing diversity. And really what's happening, and is really inexcusable about this, is that apparently to protect the interests of one developer, we are turning our backs on a very important policy, not just to save the scale of our neighborhood, but just as important and maybe more important, to save the diverse character of our neighborhood. And the reason I thought of Clyde Frazier is because he was a person who I think epitomized the importance of teamwork. And what this proposal and what our community board is suggesting for the city is something that's all about teamwork. We are asking the mayor, the administration, to be part of our team, for us to be part of their team, to accomplish together what we cannot accomplish separately, because perhaps things can be forced upon us. We know things can be forced upon us, but we know when the administration decides to force things upon us, that will rob them of energy. They will be fighting all the way. And as they fight, they will lose momentum, they will lose the ability to accomplish good things. We have a fight going on at Elizabeth Street Garden, and some people might not know what that is, but I urge you to visit it. It is on Elizabeth Street, south of Houston Street, and it is a beautiful community garden. The city wants to take that community garden and put affordable housing there. We need the affordable housing, we don't need it there. The city keeps saying, well, they have no place to put it. Well, if they have no place to put it, create places to put it by accepting, by embracing this zoning. We are welcoming the opportunity to work with the city in many, many locations where affordable housing is possible. But each one of these will involve sacrifices among neighbors. They're going to see taller buildings come in. Not necessarily buildings that they want, but buildings which we believe people will be willing to accept if they understand that they're happening as part of a teamwork effort to make this a better community. And that's what we're asking here. And I think that in this case, it's a fairly small ask with a very big benefit. Thank you.
So, this really should be a win-win. Nobody wins when we get, except maybe one developer, when we get this nearly 300-foot tall, 100% luxury condo tower. If the mayor listens and we rezone the neighborhood and we get this, which keeps the scale and character of Greenwich Village, which could include affordable units, this would be 29,000 square feet of affordable housing. If the city went ahead with this rezoning plan, there's probably at least a good 300,000 square feet of affordable housing that could be included in those developments over the years. And yet the city is refusing to consider this. They're saying what's going to go in there is okay for this neighborhood. Well, we're here to say it's not okay for this neighborhood. And we want the mayor to live up to his words and live up to his promise and move ahead with the rezoning for University Place and Broadway. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here, for all of the wonderful speakers, City Council Member Rosie Mendez, State Senator Brad Hoylman, Toby Berman, Edward Norton, all of you. I know hundreds of you have written letters, but please do not leave today without taking one of these home with you, sending a letter to the city about this, and there's more ways that you can get involved. We need you now more than ever. Thank you very much.